It is an experiment so devious, so cruel, so evil that no self-respecting scientist would dare do it and still be able to look themselves in the mirror. As a result, it has been called the Forbidden Experiment, and it has been conducted several times throughout human history. The Forbidden Experiment is a hypothetical, and not so hypothetical, study in order to divine the origins of human language. Is it innate, or is it something we are taught? We have wondered about this for centuries, and one way to find out would be to take a child, isolate them from most human contact, cut them off from the world essentially, so they never hear a spoken word, and see what happens. This is technically called a language deprivation experiment. It is an unbelievably cruel thing to do to a baby. No sane person would or should attempt this experiment. The potential scientific insights gained would not be worth the utter brutality that would have to be inflicted upon the subjects. Hence, it is forbidden. Yet there are several accounts of people doing it anyway. The first known mention of the Forbidden Experiment is from Herodotus. In his histories, he claims the Egyptian pharaoh Psamtik I carried out the study with 2 babies. He gave the babies to a shepherd and ordered him to never speak to them. The idea being that whatever words these babies first spoke would be the root language of all humanity. One of the babies eventually made a noise that kinda sorta sounded like the Phrygian word for bread. Phrygians were a contemporary culture famous for inventing the Smurf hat, but now they could boast of speaking the very first language in the world, according to Pharaoh Psamtik I, that is. Some were unconvinced. Centuries later, the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II supposedly conducted a similar experiment. Frederick II fancied himself something of a scientist and had no qualms keeping a human zoo and burying prisoners alive or disemboweling them, all in the name of science, of course. In some ways, depriving newborn babies of all social contact would be an improvement. But alas, his experiment failed. The children inevitably coaxed meaningful gestures, words of praise, and general social ability out of their caretakers. Later, James IV, King of Scotland, embarked on a comparable experiment. He set up 2 babies with a mute woman and isolated them on an island. According to reports, the children grew up to speak perfect Hebrew. The results are contested, to say the least. Akbar the Great, another ruler with an uncommon interest in scholarly investigation, raised children in isolation. Under pain of death, no one was to speak to them. The ones who survived to adulthood grew up to be mute. Of all these accounts, Akbar the Great's experiments are the most likely to have actually happened. They are cited by multiple eyewitness reports, while the other experiments had very few pieces of corroborating evidence. It's very possible most, if not all, of these experiments were just fanciful tales. But if any of these forbidden experiments actually took place, the methodology of all of them is highly questionable, and none of them can be said to pinpoint the true origin of human language. So all that cruelty was in vain. But we can hope they are all just stories, used to aggrandize or vilify these long-dead rulers. Then the Forbidden Experiment can remain just that. Forbidden. Special thanks to our Patreon patrons. Without you, the good stuff just wouldn't happen. So if you like what we do here, go on over to patreon.com/thegoodstuff and become a supporter. Otherwise, you can like and subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming out, and I'll be back in a couple weeks with a new video. Thanks for watching.